Hashmap Megabytes.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hashmap Megabytes. Today I'm going to be talking about cloudy warehouses. Cloudy warehouses is a pandas extension that allows for simplified interactions with cloud-based data platforms and pandas DataFrames. So right now we have Snowflake support, but we plan to expand on that in the future to support other cloud-based data platforms as well. So the best way to connect to Snowflake from your local machine right now, if you're a Python developer, is to use the Snowflake connector Python. So the process there is you have to create a connection object, and then you can interact with Snowflake from there. And you have to put in your credentials every time, and it can become very tedious and a little annoying. So Cloudy Warehouses streamlines this process for you. So the way it works is you install it, and then you run an empty Python file with these two lines, with these two import statements at the top. And then what that's going to do is it's going to create a configuration underscore profiles.yaml file where you put in your Snowflake credentials, and then Cloudy Warehouses looks here for your Snowflake credentials to connect to Snowflake. Cloudy Warehouses currently supports 5 commands. The first is reading from a Snowflake table. That's pd underscore or dot read Snowflake, and it returns a pandas data frame. The next is listing all the tables in a Snowflake database, which is pandas dot list Snowflake tables. And then you can write to a Snowflake table as well from a pandas data frame. And then you can also create clones, or a clone of an existing Snowflake table, or a empty clone of an existing Snowflake table as well. So I'm going to walk through kind of how to use Cloudy Warehouses, so let's do that. So the first thing you're going to want to do is open up a new terminal here and run pip install Cloudy Warehouses, like that. And it's a dash there, not an underscore. So I'm going to run that. I've already installed it, so we're good to go. So the next step is to open a empty Python file and have these two import statements at the top, import pandas, and then import Cloudy Warehouses. So I'm going to run this file. And what this is going to do is it's going to create the configuration file in my home directory that I can use to put in my Snowflake credentials. So let's open a new terminal here. And it's going to be located in my home directory, so I'm already there. And then you're going to want to cd into .cloudy warehouses, and then you're going to want to open the configuration file. So it's called configuration underscore profiles.yaml, and I'm going to open that there. And as you can see here, I have opened a configuration file that it was created whenever I ran that empty Python file. And I need to configure my Snowflake credentials, and I'm going to do that really quickly. Okay, so I've saved that file and I configured my Snowflake credentials. So what that configuration file does is it serves as kind of the default, parameters to connect to Snowflake, and you can overwrite these defaults by passing in parameters directly whenever you call a Cloudy Warehouses method. So see here how username, password, account, you don't have to enter these because while they're required to connect to Snowflake, Cloudy Warehouses looks at your configuration.yaml file first, and it can connect to Snowflake using those credentials. But if you want to use a different database or schema, for example, you can enter them whenever you call a Cloudy Warehouses method, and it will look at these, and it will take priority, or it'll look at the passed in arguments over the default database and schema configured in your YAML file. I'm going to show you kind of how this works more concretely. So let's run a few commands here. So the first command I'm going to run is list snowflake tables, and the way you do that is pandas.list snowflake tables. And what this is going to do is list all the snowflake tables in a Snowflake database, and I configured a database already in the configuration file, so it's going to look at that database there. It will return a pandas data frame as well. So let me run this file here, and let's look at the output. Let me expand this a little bit here. So it's using my connection credentials right now, found in the configuration.yaml file that I saved. And there we go. So we got, yeah, it returned everything, all the tables from the test database. And you can also see that it has the table schema as well. We have HC testing, information schema, and it's going to return all the tables and schemas in that database as a pandas data frame. And I didn't even have to put any arguments whenever I called pd.list snowflake tables, because once again, I already configured all those credentials in the configuration file. But say I wanted to overwrite the default and read from a different database. So here you can see I'm going to use a role and warehouse as well. I'm going to overwrite the defaults in the configuration file. I'm also going to add a database here. So let's do this 5TranDB here. So now it's not going to look at the test database. It's going to look at the 5TranDB database because I passed it in directly whenever I called this method here. So I'm going to run that now. And there we go. As you can see, it returned a pandas data frame with the database being 5tran instead of testDB, and it lists all the tables in there as well. So in addition to list Snowflake, you can also write to a Snowflake table, and you can either write to an existing Snowflake table or a new Snowflake table. I'm going to create a new Snowflake table here. So what I have done here is I have a pandas data frame right here with just some dummy values, and then I'm going to call, I don't even need a print statement there. I'm going to call data frame right here, the data frame df.cloudy_warehouses.write_snowflake. It's going to write this pandas data frame and create the snowflake table as well. So let's run that. Okay, so now I'm going to run this write command here. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it successfully wrote to that new snowflake table. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this out here and then run the read snowflake command, pd.read_snowflake, which will read the snowflake table. In this case, it's snowflake test, and it will return that as a pandas data frame. So let's run that really quick. And just a reminder, it's using right now Cloudy Warehouses is using the connection parameters found in the configuration file, where I have my username, password, and Snowflake account all configured, as well as a default database and schema. And as you can see here, that is our pandas data frame here that we wrote to that Snowflake table, and it returned the Snowflake table there as a pandas data frame. So now that I've kind of shown you how to use cloudy warehouses with using the default values, I'm going to go into some situations here where you may want to use other values instead of the defaults. So once again, all you have to do to overwrite the default values is to pass in the arguments directly. So here I have a read Snowflake method being called, where I'm using a fake username, a definitely real password, and the Hashmap account here. And I'm going to use that same table, Snowflake test. And this is going to show you kind of, oh, it's not going to work because cloudy warehouses will prioritize these passed in parameters over the default parameters. So let's run this here, and it should return some sort of error. Yeah, so we got a Snowflake error. Failed to connect to database. Incorrect username or password was specified. So yeah, that makes sense. So let me comment this out here. Let's run this right here. So I'm going to run pd._read snowflake, and it's going to look at the same default database, which I believe I configured as testdb, but it's going to look at a different schema. And I had it looking at pandas cloudy test in the configuration file, but right here I want it to look at hc_testing and the query history table. So let's run that, and let's see what happens. It should return a pandas data frame of the query history Snowflake table that's found in the HC testing schema. This might take a second here. Yeah, okay, no, that worked. It's a pretty large Snowflake table here. So yeah, we got that returned correctly, and so that is pretty much it for cloudy warehouses. So once again, just as a quick overview, let me go here. The 5 methods that cloudy warehouses currently supports are reading from a Snowflake table, listing all the tables in a Snowflake database, writing to a Snowflake table, and then you can also create a clone of an existing Snowflake table, which we did not do today. And then you can also create an empty clone of that Snowflake table. So yeah, hopefully cloudy warehouses helps Python developers streamline their interaction with Snowflake. I think it'll certainly help me. And also, this is still in development, so if you have any recommendations or ideas that you'd like me to work on, please let me know. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.
Hashmap Megabytes.